Mobile Sounds.
Di at Juday. Manayaw tatanan, diri sa diskuhan. Agan kayo og tao, mga tutang tanan. Mga tutang tanan, diri sa diskuhan. Kauban ng panayag, maghataw tang tanan. Iat juday, iat juday. Sige lang, iat juday, iat juday. Sige lang, iat juday, iat juday. Sige lang, iat juday, iat juday.
Back to the channel.
Na praia vi Na praia vejo o sol queimando a areia. O vento dança leve, a vida clareia. Meus pés descalços sentem a terra fria. Coração bate solto, bate solto. Sobe na batida, sobe na batida, batida.
bello, donde las gilipollas jalando cabello, me gasto con ella lo que sean de ellos.
Tengo lo que quiera de ti, nada me hace falta. Una cubana loca por quitarse ya la falda. Tenemos ciro, está bien, tenemos dinero, está bien, tenemos el flow, está bien, y todo también. Los billetes ya no son los de 10, solo con mujeres va más de 100. Tú mueves ese toto sin timidez, que para gastar tengo liquidez, yeah.
RUFV. Ataw tang tanan.
Nayak Mobile Sounds.
Di at Juday. Manayaw tang tanan, diri sa diskuhan. Agan kayo og tao, mga tutang tanan. Mga tutang tanan, diri sa diskuhan. Kauban ng panayag, maghataw tang tanan. Kiat juday, kiat juday. Sige lang, kiat juday, kiat juday. Sige lang, kiat juday, kiat juday.
Dale que entiende lo gasto todo. Yo te voy a comprar de todo. Si tú me pones ese todo. Yo sé
produce Pedro Caldera. Aquí tenemos botella de Ciro, manzana y melocotón. Y pa' que mandamos con todo el flow. Yo estoy que me lo gasto todo. Hice contigo mucho mejor, así que muéveme ese culo pa' atrás. Como tú esa chapa vibra, no te me preocupes de nada, que aquí siempre hay pa' gastar, yeah.
No te cohibas, pide lo que tú quieras. Que baje con 1 millón en la cartera. Prende un porro, haz lo que tú quieras. Que lo hacemos medio en la carretera. Mueve esa chapa de allá pa' acá, que contigo me voy a quedar. Si tú eres menor, no le pares nada, que esta noche contigo lo voy a gastar. No te quedes lo que llevo por mi cuello. Me pagan por sexo, dicen que yo soy bello. Donde la gilipollas jalando cabello, me gasto con ella lo que sean de ellos.
Tengo lo que quiera de ti, nada me hace falta. Una cubana loca por quitarse ya la falda. Tenemos ciro, está bien, tenemos dinero, está bien, tenemos el flow, está bien, y todo también. Los billetes ya no son los de 10, solo de mujeres va más de 100. Tú mueves ese todo. Si tú quieres party, pues aquí tenemos todo. Contigo no rompí, yo me lo gasto todo.
Dale que tú me lo gasto todo, yo te voy a comprar de todo. Si tú me pones ese todo. Yo sé que te gusta el reggaetón, pero esto está mejor, lo produce Pedro Caldera. Aquí tenemos botella de Ciro, manzana y melocotón. Y pa' que mandamos con todo el flow. Yo estoy que me lo gasto todo. Hice contigo mucho mejor, así que muéveme ese culo pa' atrás. Como tú esa chapa vibra, no te me preocupes de nada, que aquí siempre hay pa' gastar, yeah.
No te cohibas, pide lo que tú quieras. Que baje con 1 millón en la cartera. Prende un porro, haz lo que tú quieras. Que lo hacemos medio en la carretera. Mueve esa chapa de allá pa' acá, que contigo me voy a quedar. Si tú eres menor, no le pares nada, que esta noche contigo lo voy a gastar. Medio kilo es lo que llevo por mi cuello. Me pagan por sexo, dicen que yo soy bello. Donde la gilipollas jalando cabello, me gasto con ella lo que sean de ellos.
Tengo lo que quiera de ti, nada me hace falta. Una cubana loca por quitarse ya la falda. Tenemos ciro, está bien, tenemos dinero, está bien, tenemos el flow, está bien, y todo también. Los billetes ya no son los de 10, solo con mujeres va más de 100. Tú mueves ese todo sin timidez, que para gastar tengo liquidez, yeah.
Density is a tool to record your DJ set and master it after. Density connects to DJ.
Mambo, chapa, doggy style. No te canses.
¿Y qué fue? No hiciste nada. Con tanta chapa, va a hacerle ranking can. ¿Y qué fue? No hiciste nada. Con tanta chapa, va a hacerle ranking can.
Mambo, chapa, doggy style. No te canses.
Tú di que la liga la mata. Muñeca metiste la pata. Deja ese paquete. Si a ti te ganaste la ñata. Busquen alcohol. La tipa se trancó. Parece que le falta aceite ese motor. ¿Y qué fue? No hiciste nada. Con tanta chapa, va a hacerle ranking can. ¿Y qué fue? No hiciste nada. Con tanta chapa, va a hacerle ranking can.
Mambo, chapa, doggy style. No te canses.
Mira tú, ven que yo quiero ver lo que me dijiste la otra vez. Que tú eres la dura, la perra, la montra. Tú eres una movie de TNT. Y el loco.
Masarap uminom ng tubig, lalo na kapag mainit. Kaya kayo uminom ng tubig para maiwasan ang mainit na panahon. Kayo'y uminom ng tubig, drink water para chill. Uminom kayo ng tubig lang tayo this summer. Chill lang tayo this summer. Yeah, chill lang tayo this summer.
Vento sussurra histórias sem fim. A lua dança num céu de cetim, tão cheia de cor. Silêncio que canta um sutil esplendor. Luz na madrugada, luz na madrugada, vem me guiar. Passo sem pensar onde vou parar. Caminho perdido, mas quero ficar. Luz na madrugada, só quero sonhar. Dedos no chão, sombras que dançam sem direção. Mistério no ar, o tempo respira, me deixa vagar. Luz na madrugada, vem me guiar. Passo sem pensar onde vou parar. Luz na madrugada, caminho perdido, mas quero ficar. Luz na madrugada, só quero sonhar.
This is Grammarly.
Na praia vejo o sol queimando a areia. O vento dança leve, a vida clareia. Meus pés descalços sentem a terra fria. Coração bate solto, bate solto. Sobe na batida, sobe na batida, sobe na batida. Não lembra da pista sem parar. Corpos juntos sentindo a vibrar.
estoy en el...
Mala fama, se la pasan diciendo que soy mala, porque no me aguanto drama de nada. Así vienes a mi cama, a mi cama. a choice that times I've made up my mind.
Now God I reckon, and thy God shall be listened because
Sudah lupa lagi nama
Sarap uminom ng tubig, lalo pa kapag mainit. Kaya kayo uminom ng tubig para maiwasan ang mainit na panahon. Tuloy uminom ng tubig, drink water, let it chill.
In FL Studio, there are two categories of plugins: generators and effects. Generator plugins generate sound. And then we have effect plugins that affect those sounds. An added generator plugin can be found in the channel rack, while effect plugins belong to the mixer. Today we're gonna focus on generators. There's a whole lot of them. Simple ones like FL Keys, or a mini synth, or get more variation with Flex. That both has real-life instruments, as well as more electronic ones. Or synths to tweak, like Citrus. Or drum-dedicated plugins like FPC. There's also more advanced plugins like Harmor that allows for extensive controls. Or plugins like SliceX that is a tool for sampling and chopping. Original sample and loaded in SliceX. Hopefully that gives you some inspiration as to what there is to explore. Adding plugins can be done through several ways in FL Studio. I'll highlight some of them here, but in this video we'll go through the browser, navigate to plugins and then generators. Here we can see a bunch of different categories. Let's open Synth Classic and locate Flex. A quick way to add it to your project is to drag it and release it directly on one of these tracks. This automatically renames the track and creates a new pattern named after that plugin. And if you double click it, you go straight into the piano roll, ready to draw a melody. In most plugins, you have presets, which are different ready-made sounds. On some plugins, this is found through the drop-down menu, while others, like Flex, have a dedicated preset section, where we can find the jazz guitar from the intro, for example. In general, plugins also have tweakable parameters. In Flex, these are the knobs, sliders, buttons and wheels to the right. This can be fun to play around with. For example, many stock presets come with delay and reverb, like this one. Let's turn them off. We can also experiment with the cutoff, which can make the sound more muffled. Or we can add some more chorus. Nice and wobbly. If you open the plugin picker with this icon, you get a nice overview over all the plugins. And if you want to explore even more, you can look in the FL Cloud Plugins application. Go to Tools and then Plugins. This opens the FL Cloud Plugins app. In here you can install even more instruments and effects from third-party suppliers. So no matter what you're into, there's probably a plugin for you. FL Studio has quite a variety, and they're tweakable to your taste. Have fun! Effect plugins, that's where the real fun starts. It's about reshaping your sounds and getting creative. Effect plugins generally don't produce sound on their own, instead they make changes to other sounds. Let's listen to some common ones. Clean, reverb, delay, chorus, low pass filter. Effect plugins are added through the mixer, where we have different inserts. But before anything else, we need to connect our sounds to these inserts. In the channel rack, you might have laid eyes on these boxes. These connect our sounds to the mixer. So this synth here, if we take the box next to it and drag it up to 3, it will be connected to insert 3 in the mixer. So if we now go back there and play it out, we can visually see the volume when it plays on that insert. Now let's add an effect plugin. Let's click the mixer insert. We add effects to the effect slots. If you can't see them, check this setting. If we click them, we get to add our effects. Let's add Fruity Reverb 2. Now the sound has a reverb. And we can click it to open it and make some adjustments, tweaking the parameters, like increasing the decay to give it a longer tail, or increasing the wet signal, increasing the level of the reverbed sound. Let's go back to the channel rack with F6. Anything else you send to insert 3 will also get that reverb effect we just added. So before, after. Now there is another way to send things to the mixer that can be good to know about. I'll add a new bongo sound here. Now make sure it's selected and use Ctrl L. This automatically routes it to the next free spot in the mixer, which will now be insert 1 since we went straight to number 3 before when we added the reverb. It also renames it. I'll add a quick Fruity Delay 2 here to get some echoes on it. Echoes on it. Nice! You can also let FL Studio do the mixer routing for you. In the last video, we added an instrument by dragging it directly onto a track. With this method, FL Studio automatically routes it to an insert in the mixer, and renames it after it. This also works if you load your instruments by using the plus icon here. This keeps things organized. To the left in the mixer, we got two special inserts. This one is the master. Every sound in your song will pass through here. This means that every mixer insert is connected to it. You can see it visualized by clicking an insert and seeing these send links. Sounds that aren't yet routed to the mixer also go through the master. So any effect that you add to the master channel, apply to your entire song. Effects on the master are commonly used to make some final adjustments, like a light equalizer or a compressor. Or go crazy and add some reverb. Or distortion. The current insert. This is an advanced feature and not necessary to start making songs. But it can be good to have an idea about what it's for. It mirrors whatever insert that you have selected in the mixer. If you like to use visualizer plugins, like FL Studio's own Wave Candy, this can be quite useful. Let's bring up an example. I've got this song with a bass line, chords and some drums. I could add the visualizer plugin to each separate insert, but it's a bit of work. Instead, I can add Wave Candy to the current track. And just click the insert that I want to visualize. Chords. And drums. Bass. So now you hopefully got an idea. There's a total of 76 effects in FL Studio, so quite a lot to experiment with. Have fun with it and good luck! Automations. They let you change things automatically over time, like fade-ins or turning something on and off. Let's start with an example. Look at the synth. Let's fade it in using automations. We'll make a selection where we want the automation clip to be placed. Now we'll find the synth in the channel rack and right-click what we want to automate, which in this case is the volume knob. Hit Create Automation Clip. It will appear in the playlist. At the start and end of a clip, we can see control points. Let's drag down the start one. Sweet. There is a lot more to this, so let's go through it with a filter automation. You know, this effect. In the last video, we learned how to add effects to a sound. So let's add an effect to this synth here. I'll add the effect called Fruity Filter. In here, we can drag down the knob called High Pass, and only have a so-called Low Pass filter left. Don't fret now if these terms seem confusing. You'll be able to do automations either way. But basically, a low pass filter cuts off the high frequencies. Or on my voice it sounds like this. By adjusting the cutoff, you decide how much of the high frequencies it should remove. Now we'll create an automation clip. Right-click the cutoff knob, create automation clip, and in the playlist we'll find it and change the control points for it. Nice! Between two control points we find the tension handle. With this we can adjust the shape of the curve. More good things to know about automations. You right-click to add more control points. You can move them sideways. Hold shift and right-click to place a point while keeping the level unchanged. Right-clicking an existing one gives you the option to try different curves. You also right-click a control point to delete it, and you right-click the tension handle to reset it. And dragging on the edge of an automation clip makes it longer. Using automations is a very versatile technique. Right-click a wheel, or really anything, and you'll be surprised about how many of them that can be automated within FL Studio. Like the parameters in a plugin, or the project tempo. Directly in the menu of audio clips, you have an option to quickly add panning and volume automations. With the panning one, we can create that effect of going from the left ear to the right ear. We can also duplicate automation clips to place them at different places in the song. Note that these are inherently the same automation clip, so adjusting one of them will change both. If you don't want that, you press the automations menu and hit Make Unique. Now they're not linked anymore. If you have two different automations but want them to follow the same curve, you can easily copy it over through the menu. Go to Articulator Tools, Copy State, and on the second one, Articulator Tools and Paste State. Automations can really bring tracks to life. They add variation to your songs, they really create interest, and they're lots of fun. Good luck! The Loop Starter. This is a great place to kick things off. Let's go through it. To use the Loop Starter, go to the channel rack and hit this icon. Choose your genre. Let's go for some techno. And the Loop Starter will load loops that work together and match the genre. You can re-roll individual sounds or replace everything with the die icon here at the top. You can switch genre at any time. Let's try some hip-hop. It's also possible to lock in on sounds. Take a look at this percussion. I'll mute the other ones by clicking them. I like this and want to keep it. So we can right-click its die and press locked. Now it will stay even if we use the global reroll die. Below the loops, the Loop Starter also generates fitting drum samples for the genre you choose. So these are some nice hip-hop drums. Let's mute the other drum loops, and we can create a new drum beat with the one-shots. If you're working with a genre where you don't really know where to place the steps, let's generate some drill here. You can right-click the samples and hit Generate Steps. And it will generate a fitting pattern for that genre and that sound. Through the global die, you can also choose to generate steps for all channels. The Loop Starter also allows for exploration. If you find a sound that matches the style you want, but that isn't quite right, maybe this top loop here for example, listen. You can right-click it and press Find Similar Samples. And FL Studio will locate samples that are alike. Drag it into Replace, and listen. We can also play around with our sounds in the Loop Starter. Let's open the menu for the chords here. And here we can pitch it down a bit. The Loop Starter is a quick way to get inspired. Maybe you now want to add a melody. Load the plugin through the plus icon. I'll go for the Capture EXO here. Right-click and open the piano roll and try a melody with your loops. Now where do we go with this? Once you have something you like in the Loop Starter, you can use this icon to send it to the playlist. Here you can start arranging the song. Note that you can only have one Loop Starter active at a time, so if you want to save something but keep experimenting with the Loop Starter, it's a good idea to send it to the playlist. So now you know the essentials. Let's go through some more of the functions you might be wondering about. Change project tempo. Depending on the genre you choose, FL Studio will change the BPM to a fitting one for it. If you turn it off, it won't. The number here determines the pattern length. Right now it's set to 64 steps, which is 4 bars. If we set it to half, 32, it will only be 2 bars. This button toggles the step sequencer / piano roll view, so we can see our drum steps like this or like this. The icon here toggles loop mode. By default, the loop mode is set to 1 bar. This is useful since we can place our drums here at only the first bar and they will loop throughout the entire Loop Starter length. You can place more beats to change this loop. To be 2 bars for example. However, if you want to add a longer melody or a bass line, you might want to turn off looping for it completely to create something longer. Then you can right-click the loop mode button and click Loop All Channels. With this, you can now turn off looping for certain sounds. Here it is turned on and turned off. Now, when you close a project where you use the loop starter, you will be asked about a whole bunch of samples. These are ones you listened to but ended up not using, so you can choose to delete them from the project if you want. And 2 common questions. Where do the sounds come from? The loop starter pulls its sounds from FL Cloud. Who can access it? It's included in every edition of FL Studio. And that's it! Have fun with it!
Once you have some patterns and audio clips, it's time to start arranging.
Here we have a pattern and a sample put directly on the playlist. And if we play this out now, we'll just be looping these 2 bars over and over. We want to fill this empty space to create an actual song. Let's start with the basics. Last clicked. FL Studio remembers the last item you clicked. So if you want to place another one of these samples here, we can click it once, and clicking it again over here will place more. Let's do it to the pattern as well. Quick tip here, you click and drag to move, and you can hold Alt to make precise adjustments. Above the playlist you can see a big set of tools. Right now we're using the pencil tool, but we can also try the brush tool here. If you click and drag now, you place several patterns, very quickly. Let's do a very quick rundown of the other tools as well. Playback tool, zoom tool, select tool, slice tool, delete tool, the slip tool, and the mute tool. There are many ways to arrange in the playlist, and you should find your favorite workflow. I like to shift click and drag to create a copy. Ctrl B is also useful. It duplicates and places it to the right of the duplicated one. These commands work in the piano roll as well. Now, the picker panel. This is a menu to the left of the playlist that allows you to see all of your components. If you can't see it, you can enable it in this drop-down menu. Under this icon we can see every pattern within the project, while this one allows you to see all the audio clips within it. And here it's quite easy to see what we currently got selected. It's highlighted in green.
This will be the one you place by left-clicking in the playlist.
Looping. Sometimes it can be useful to listen to the same section over and over rather than the entire song. You can mark a section by holding Ctrl and dragging on the timeline. That will be the section you loop. Ctrl click again to remove the loop. Make unique. This is a very useful feature when arranging. Say you're working on a song with this drum pattern.
And in this third one you want to have the same drums, but with some variation.
If I were to make a change in this pattern, it would apply to all copies of that one within the project. This is where Make Unique comes in handy. Go to the upper left corner and hit Make Unique. It creates a copy where you can add changes to that specific one. So I'll rename this Variation. Now let's click it again and press Edit Pattern.
This will open the channel rack where I'll add some extra snares to this one.
And let's have a listen. The split by channel function. You might start a song by keeping everything in one pattern and getting a groove on. However, for arranging, you might want to have this in separate ones. So right-click it and press Split by Channel. This splits your pattern up into its different components, creating new ones for each one. So we can easily try out an arrangement, perhaps starting with just a piano and then building up. You can also merge them back by marking them and hitting Ctrl G. Now what about organizing? FL Studio allows you to be very flexible with your project. No elements are locked to a certain row. To keep track of things, it can be helpful to do some organizing. You can rename the patterns, and the tracks here to the left as well.
Nice.
And lastly, the Arrangements tab.
If you want to try out a different arrangement without risking the one you already got, you can create a new empty one in the Arrangements tab.
You can clone the old one or create a new empty one.
How about starting the song with a melody instead?
Or go back again with the Arrangements tab. However, do note that these arrangements share the same information. So if you delete a pattern entirely, you will delete it from both of them. And with that, you should be all set to get to it. Start arranging, building, and elongating your songs. Good luck, and see you in the next one. Throwing in a few loops is one of the easiest ways to get started. In this video, we're gonna get a groove using FL Cloud, finding nice stuff swiftly. So first off, what is FL Cloud? It's a big library of royalty-free samples that you can access directly within FL Studio. And in here, we find samples. There are two main categories of them that you should know about. One-shots and loops. One-shots are typically just one hit, like a clap.
But it can be anything. A synth stab, a crash, or a vocal. A loop, on the other hand, usually consists of several bars, designed to repeat itself seamlessly. This can be drums, a guitar, or anything. Now let's make a quick beat using loops. You can access FL Cloud by hitting the Sounds tab in the browser. Let's search for a piano. A bit too sad. Nice. Just drag it in. And to this I'm gonna search for a top loop. This is usually just hi-hats and claps. Now we can hear it how it would fit with the song. And if we like it, we can drag it in. Nice. Control B a few times to get it longer. Alright, now we're gonna try out the hot swap function. With this one we can easily swap our top loop here with another one to see how it would sound. So try this one. 1, 2, 3. Alright, I like this one too, but I think I'll go for the original one. Press back. Nice. Turn off the hot swap. And now we're gonna search for a kick. Drag it on. As you can hear, it's a bit too loud. We can adjust the volume of the clips directly on the bottom of them. Better. Now I want to add a melodic instrument. For that it can be good to know what key we're in. If we zoom in a bit on this piano here, we can actually see what key it is. D major. So if we want to search for a saxophone here, we can search directly within that key. So let's add it. D major, and let's search saxophone. I'll take a chance on the one called Amasax here and drag it directly in. I think we can get a better one. I like this one. So a tech we can use now is just drag and drop on top of the old one, and thereby replace it. Listen. A bit loud. Alright. There we go, our first loop beat. Now something that you might have thought of. All of these loops come in several different tempos, don't they? And it can be nice to have them in sync. With FL Cloud, the Sync BPM button here at the bottom automatically syncs them to the tempo of your project. If we turn it off, we can hear the original tempo of the loop. You can also manually time stretch your one-shots and loops. By default, dragging on the edge of a clip cuts it. But if we activate this setting, stretch audio when resizing audio clips, we can manually adjust the speed. That's great, but what if you don't want the pitch to change? If you double-click a sample, you can access different stretch modes. These are different ways of tempo changing a sample that you can experiment with. Resample will make an upsped version pitched up, while stretch will keep it in the same pitch even though it's sped up. You can also use the Fit to Project Tempo setting. If you click a sample, this option can help you automatically time stretch your sounds without doing it manually.
So now you know the essentials. Using loops is a quick way to get some fundamentals going, and from there you can build on to create a full song. Good luck! Recording is one of the most fun parts of music making. Whether you want to capture a vocal or record a guitar. Let's get to it. This video will explain recording in detail, but if you just want to get straight to it, it can be narrowed down into 3 steps. Right-click the plus icon here and click here to choose an input. Now hit record and press play.
Jag testar mikrofonen och det låter bra.
And there you have your first.
Jag testar mikrofonen och det låter bra.
And there you have your first recording. But there are some more things that can be good to know about. Let's get into some technical stuff. For Windows, an ASIO audio device driver must be selected. Press F10 to open the options, go to Audio and select an ASIO driver. If you have a native ASIO driver for your audio interface, use that, not the FL Studio ASIO. They can be named something like this. For Mac, depending on your OS, you may need to give FL Studio microphone permissions. You can allow it in the privacy and security settings. You can also ask Go for how. Now go to Options and Audio and select an audio interface through which you want to record. What you get to choose from here will look different depending on your setup. I'll use the microphone of normal iPhone headphones for this vid. Now we need to set up for the recording. Right-click on the plus icon here in the playlist. This will create an audio track from which we can record. These 3 icons here are all you need to learn. The first one selects your input, your microphone. My current setup only has one option here, but there's a chance you see several depending on your audio interface. Select the one that corresponds with your microphone. Once selected, you might get this pop-up. It's asking if you want to set up the recording so that it can only record external audio from outside of FL Studio. Let's hit yes. You can now see the input being monitored here.
So this is the earpod mic.
With the next icon, you choose what to record. Through the pop-up earlier, we already set this to external input only, and this is what you want for most cases. You will learn a bit more about the other ones later in this video. At the bottom, you also get monitoring settings. This is giving you the ability to hear yourself. You can choose to always hear yourself or turn it off. When armed means that you will only be hearing yourself when the track is armed for recording, which brings us to the last icon. When this one is red, the track is ready to record. You can click it to disarm it. And now it's time to click the main record button. If it's the first time you're recording, you'll be asked by FL Studio what you're intending to record in this pop-up menu. For example, Notes allow you to record a MIDI keyboard, and audio into the playlist will record our microphone. However, it's easy and works well to simply choose the option Record Everything here. You can at any time access these recording filters by right-clicking the record button to see or change what FL Studio is trying to record. But generally, there's no harm in keeping them all on. Now as the last step, make sure we're in song mode and hit space.
And here we can see that it's working fine, and as soon as we press pause again, the recording will stop.
When recording audio from an instrument, you need to have an audio interface connected. There's a whole lot of them. Here I'm using a PreSonus audio box with a synth connected to the second input. After that, it's pretty much the same process. I'll select input 2 here. Now we can hear it. And then record. Nice. These icons are useful when recording. Countdown. This gives you a countdown of 1 bar before a recording starts. Loop recording. If you select a portion of your song and let this loop, this option allows you to make several recordings without having to stop in between. they will be muted by default. You can unmute them with the mute tool. Another useful setting is the metronome, which I keep activated here. It keeps track of the pulse of the song. And by the way, you can change the sound of it by right-clicking. All recordings in FL Studio are wired through the mixer. Let's showcase that. Earlier, we right-clicked the plus icon here to create our recording track. By doing so, FL Studio automatically selects a mixer insert. Here you can see that the mic is connected to insert 1 in the mixer. We can also manually select an insert. Right-click the track, go to track mode, audio track, and here you get to choose an insert for yourself. Let's go for insert 3. And now we're connected to insert 3 instead. Here in the mixer, we can find the same settings as in the playlist. Earlier, we chose external input only. Let's showcase why that's important. We'll route this drum loop to insert 3 as well. Right now, this won't blend with the recording, because we're only recording external audio. However, if we change this to external and mixer input, everything put through insert 3 will be part of the recording. See here. This is useful for some cases, but most of the time you want external input only. Pause here to read about the rest of them. Another thing you should be mindful of. This track here is now assigned to insert 3 in the mixer. So if we drag other sounds onto that track, they will automatically be routed to insert 3 as well. You can right-click a track and choose track mode as unassigned to avoid this once you're done with the recording. And that's it. Enjoy recording.